for joining us today on Earthfile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. Despite making up 39% of the global labor workforce, women only account for 16% of the traditional energy sector. For management levels, the numbers are even lower. The barriers women face in the energy sector are similar to those they face elsewhere in the economy. However, the challenges of the energy sector are more pressing since the sector is going through a process of transformation. Clean energy transitions will require innovative solutions and business models to be adopted and greater participation from a diverse talent pool. Clean energy companies across Africa are making concerted efforts to diversify their workforces, making a particular effort to attract, hire, and retain women. Today, we look at how the clean energy landscape is changing in Nigeria, and of course, have a look at what women are doing to contribute their shares to its success. Do stay with us.
My name is Mary Jane Adejo. I work in the layup station in Oano Solar, Nigeria Limited. I started in 2018. That's like 5 years. I studied computer science. But before I got here, I had no knowledge about it. So it was like on-the-job training. So I undergone a job training for me to have the knowledge of how I can be able to do this perfectly. Okay, here on the layup station, what we do here basically, the process is before you start laying up of the sericin from the auto stringer machine, the cells has already been stringed down. So here what we do is when you place a gas, first thing first, you place a glass on the table. Then the glass has a two sides. It has a smooth side and the rough side. So you check very well before you place it. Then when you place it, you notice that the rough side should come up while the smooth side should go down. So after placing it, you use a glass cleaner. You clean the glass thoroughly. Then you place your EVA film on the glass. Then before you start placing your sericin.
This thing is entering the...
Then before you place it, you check for your positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So that's how you do it. So after that, you start connecting. You start soldering the negative to the positive, the negative to the positive. Then you use your bus bar, your ribbon. After everything, this machine also tests for voltage and current. So after you must have finished laying it up, if it tests the voltage and the current, if it's not giving you what is expected of the particular panel, so you know that something is actually wrong. So you have to start all over again, trace where there's an issue for you to fix it before it will pass this table.
The ladies work in a vital unit in Nigeria's biggest 100 megawatts solar module assembly factory located in Ibejileki on the outskirts of Lagos.
When we started, we found out that there's a section of production, for instance, in the factory that has to do with details, you know, and from our own experience, we found out that ladies pay more attention to details than the men do. Apologies to the men. And we felt that, okay, in that production process, this particular area, talking about the layup station that has to do with specific details, we had to train ladies for it. And we found out that they turned out doing it so exceptional that we rarely have mistakes for the products that we do. Yeah, so the ladies are more focused. You can say most of our ladies are focused on that layup station that has to do with details, paying attention to details, and we have seen huge results. We have an auto-stringing machine that does more of the series. say. So once those cells come out in series, all we need to do is to make sure that the connections are done right. So we have to check, manually check, visibly check. First, that the solar cells are not cracked. Secondly, we have to check that the connections are right. Every seriesing that you do in the solar cell brings us to an output. The output is the negative and the positive. That is what supplies the current that you see that the solar panel produces. So we have to make sure that those connections are intact. There is no cuts, there's no cut connection. All the connections are where aligned, and it will give you the perfect output. So we ensure that that is done in the layoff station, and the ladies handle that perfectly for us.
The plant is targeted at reducing Nigeria's dependence on imported solar panels, thereby driving down foreign exchange costs and creating economies of scale in the use of climate-smart alternative energy sources. The 2023 Renewable Energy Roadmap for Nigeria says around 84% of urban households use backup power supply systems such as fossil fuel, and some of them also use solar-based systems, while about 86% of the companies in Nigeria own or share a generator. Given the several million captive generators imported into the country, Nigeria leads Africa as the highest importer of generators and is also one of the largest importers worldwide. Nigeria's erratic power supply systems and the relatively expensive captive generation negatively impacts the economy from the residential to the industrial sector. The main challenges facing the entire power sector include inadequate financing, relatively high investment risks, and policy uncertainty. Nigeria has a huge potential off-grid market, whether based on solar photovoltaic mini-grids or through solar home systems. Currently, based on life cycle assessments, standalone solar PV systems are already cost competitive compared with conventional diesel and gasoline generators used in the country as backup. However, solar PV systems have higher initial capital outlay, which makes them unattractive for the poor consumers. There comes in the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, launched at COP26 in Glasgow in 2021 and is dedicated to addressing the defining challenge of our time, which is the transition to green energy in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean.
If we had that, if we're all working towards that common goal, recognizing the opportunity, and I think that's what we at GF, along with our alliance partners, see. It's an opportunity. You have, 600 million people without access to energy. If you're able to provide that access to energy in a sustainable manner using renewable, then you create several oxanos. You create new businesses. You create sustainable growth. You create employment. So really, it's an opportunity, and therefore, as long as you have that, as long as we have that common purpose, and it's not just, the alliance members, it's the developers, it's the financiers, it's the government, it really takes everybody to say, we're going to address this problem, and we're going to do it through the collaborative effort of all.
This partnership has committed $15 million to expand the demand aggregation for the renewable technology program and commissioned 350 kilowatt mini-grid in Benue State. It also provided 234 kilowatt solar hybrid mini-grid in Shimanka community in Plateau State. As well as introduced standalone solar system in market in Lagos. And it has also helped one of the local players, Oxano. The Alliance is also funding in Nigeria Women for Green Jobs program to promote gender equity in clean energy workspaces and success on the job.
While we are providing this energy access that is actually benefiting people, that is it's creating jobs, and it is improving their livelihoods, their ability to earn money. So as part of this focus on jobs and livelihoods, it's important, we believe it's important to specifically focus on women, to ensure that women are carried along in this process and are part of this improvement in livelihoods. The report today shows that when effort is made by both women in the labor market as well as the companies that participate in clean energy, you can bring the two together and fill a lot of these vacancies that exist in the energy sector and make it clear that women can take these jobs, not just men that can do energy sector work, women can do it.
Experts say despite the fact that women fare better at renewable energy companies, GIAP, in its Empowering Women in Clean Energy, Advancing and Retaining an Equitable Workforce report, highlighted that there is a persistent barriers hindering women's advancement in the clean energy sector, including limited awareness, educational disparities, biased hiring processes, and unsupportive workplace cultures, leading to lower representation in leadership roles.
There's a projection that there's going to be 19 more million jobs created by the green transition for Africa, right? And so that's massive job growth, it's massive job opportunity, it's tons of economic opportunity to unlock for women. And so I think for us, when we think about a climate job or a green energy job, that doesn't mean that you have to be an engineer, right? Those are some of the roles, but if you're working for a company that's advancing, technologies related to energy access or cleaner technology, e-waste recycling, right? Whatever it might be, you could be working in HR and finance, you could be working as a solar technician, you could be a recruiter, you could be a financial manager, right? The point is that there's a host of different roles you could be taking a part of that are green jobs that are supporting this green transition. And so for as much as I think it's really important to see that women are entering into spaces that have been traditionally male dominated, the reality is there's probably more opportunity for them as they think about climate jobs through a broader lens to be able to work, in whatever it is that they're passionate about. There's no reason why if what you want to do is think about communications all day, you can't be an excellent marketer at a company.
The Energy Transition Plan highlights that the next couple of decades present a unique opportunity to merge these two priorities, that is, economic development and climate action. And to achieve this in Nigeria, one of the world's first true just transitions, the plan claims that renewable energy in Nigeria will lift 100 million people out of poverty and create up to 340,000 jobs by 2030, as well as 840,000 jobs by 2060. The government says the transition creates opportunities for economic growth in new industries such as hydrogen, solar energy, and electric vehicles.
Dependence on firewood, on other less clean forms of energy for cooking, but there are technologies now that use solar to power cook stoves, for example, and that saves people from having to deal with the smoke, the pollution, and other environmental effects. But that's just one example of the ways in which energy can be used productively to improve people's lives in a very specific and meaningful way. But also there are other ways. We're trying to look into e-transport, electric vehicles. As you mentioned, the removal or the reduction in subsidy in petrol in Nigeria has meant that the cost of transport has gone up. There's an opportunity for us to look into e-vehicles, e-buses, for example. There are state governments that want to deploy electric buses around the country. We're currently supporting the government in the plans for that. Government has procured electric buses that will be deployed for mass transit around the country. I can't talk about the specifics now, but Lagos is included, yes. And so transport can be made cheaper and more energy efficient and cleaner once you get rid of the need for petrol and diesel. And so that's another example of how energy can improve people's lives just outside of pure lighting and electricity.
The Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet and its partners in Nigeria strive to assist many in getting the desired results.
My name is Obio Emeke Alex, Oano Solar Nigeria Limited Production Manager here in Ibejuleki. Production begins here with the solar cell testing machine. This is the solar cell tester, and what this machine does is help in testing the cell parameters, which is basically the wattage, testing the volts and maximum currents each cell can give out.
Okay.
A single cell is 5 watts, for instance, you understand? So by the time you multiply the 5 watts times the 60 cells in the 300 watt panel, you will have the 300 watts. So at the end of the day, you see that cells must be tested, because when you have a large variances between your cells, you may not achieve what you want. And at the end of the day, you may be having less reading. Let's say 220 watts, 280 watts, you get. So instead of the 300 watts. So we need to test the cells to make sure that we are getting it right.
A solar module comprises 6 components, but arguably the most important one is the photovoltaic cell, which generates electricity. The conversion of sunlight, made up of particles called photons, into electrical energy by a solar cell is called the photovoltaic effect. Hence why experts refer to solar cells as photovoltaic, or PV for short. And here in this unit, it must be tested to ensure its voltage. The efficiency of a PV cell is the amount of electrical power that is coming out of the cell compared to the energy from the light shining on it. This number demonstrates how effective the cell is at converting energy.
What we look out for, first off, every cell, it has the power rating. Technically, power is a product of voltage and current. Okay, so that's what brings out power. Yeah, so when we are checking the power, we are checking the voltage, we are checking the current. Okay, so for every solar panel you see out there, there's a specification at the back of the solar panel that will tell you, you see VOC, ISC, IM, PM, they mean something. And that is what we need to find out, starting with the cell testing. So when we get there, we can be able to say, okay, this is the voltage from each of the cells. Remember that some panels have to be 60 cells, some have to be 72 cells, some have to be 36 cells. Whatever they are, they come out with different outputs. The emphasis there is to make sure that you are matching the right cells with the right cells. So if you have a cells with this particular set of voltage, you are identifying them at the solar testing side and making sure they are matching with the exact cells that will produce the panel. We don't want to have a variation or mismatch in terms of voltage for a single solar panel. It brings down the output. So we have to make sure that, so it's a rigorous process, but we have to do it. So what we have seen in the past, the solars, the monocrystalline, they started with full cells, but they are now tilting towards the half cells. What the half cells does for you is that you can have a smaller panel, but with the same output that should be. I'll give you, for instance, a 300 watts in the past, 60 cell. Remember, in deployment of solar, space is key. Wherever you're going to install it, you have to install in available space. So you see a 300 watts with a full cell, that will give you 300 watts. But with the half cut, you can have a half cut that is smaller in size, but still give you 300 watts. So what technology is helping us to do is that you can have smaller cells, if produced right, can give you the same output as a full cell. So why get the full cell when you can get reduced size?
As the demand for clean and sustainable energy rises, solar power has emerged as a promising solution for Nigeria's energy needs. However, despite its immense potential, the widespread adoption of solar energy in Nigeria faces several challenges. The high initial investment required for installation is a primary challenge, so also is a limited access to financing options. This poses another significant challenge for solar energy projects in the country. Many financial institutions are also reluctant to invest in renewable energy projects due to perceived risks and uncertainties.
But everybody is united around a common goal, which is energy access and making sure that energy access is met by renewables. to save the planet. Really, that's at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. Save the planet, but also make sure people have economic development while that is happening. There are no certainties in life, but if we had that, if we're all working towards that common goal, recognizing the opportunity, and I think that's what we at GF, along with our alliance partners, see. It's an opportunity. You have, 600 million people without access to energy. If you're able to provide that access to energy in a sustainable manner using renewable, then you create several Oxanos. You create new businesses. You create sustainable growth. You create employment. So really, it's an opportunity, and therefore, as long as you have that, as long as we have that common purpose, and it's not just the alliance members, it's the developers, it's the financiers, it's the government. It really takes everybody to say we're going to address this problem, and we're going to do it through the collaborative effort of all.
In recent years, impact investors are making inroads into the clean energy sector in Nigeria and are helping many startups to scale up, like the folks in Oxano, to boost the energy needs of Nigerians.
The renewable energy off-grid sector still is a relatively nascent sector, less now today's compared to 6 years ago when it started, but still, there's still a lot for the players in this sector to learn and to acquire, to develop, and to become the big businesses that we need. So that in mind, we had to, when we started, we had to put in place an offering that was not just the equity and the debt into companies, which is obviously critical, but to get those companies to be ready for these investments, for this debt or equity, you also need to prepare them. And this is what we do at the Hub. We take companies from what we call the ideation stage. Think of it when it's just a seed, a simple idea, and we help it mature through all of the different stages to get to that growth required for investments. And this takes time, it takes patience, it takes work, hand-holding. To be able to do that, you need to be able to do it with patient partners. So this is what GAP is. GAP is this patient partner that has realized that when it comes to getting to scale in the Nigeria off-grid sector, we will need to prepare the companies to be set up. And from day one, they've really been a partner, a funding partner, a brainstorm partner. They've really been working with us to support these kind of companies. Oxano is one of these companies that has benefited from the All on Hub support and therefore benefited through GAP as well.
At the moment, the cells needed for the production are not made in Nigeria, despite the abundance of the raw material here in the country. Natural beach sand is the main component in making pure silicon. Though it is an abundant resource in the world, even here in Nigeria, the process of getting pure silicon comes at a cost and requires a lot of energy. That energy and the finance required to convert the silicon wafers into usable solar cells is still lacking here in Nigeria.
What you just mentioned around the upstream silica, that has to do with mining. As you know, in Nigeria, nobody does mining at scale. Banks don't lend to mining. If you want to mine, you need heavy equipment. To get that heavy equipment, you need dollars. Well, you need foreign currency to import that heavy equipment. There's nobody that leases equipment. So that whole ecosystem that needs to be developed. Of course, like I said, everybody has limited resources. So, you really have to, you have to bring different people together and say, your strengths are in financing, mining, for example. How about we look at this, create some certainty around the market so that, investors, equity providers, they have the comfort to invest in the upstream mining because they know it will eventually flow to players like Oxano who will use it and create that certainty around markets.
But everyone here at the plant are glad with what they have going.
When I see solar panels and all, I'll be like, it gives me joy that, oh, I can do this thing, like very well, 100% I can do it. So it gives me really joy to be here, and the experience I've learned over the years, I cannot as in I'm overwhelmed, right? If I see a solar panel, I'll be like, wow, this thing, I can do it.
At the end of the day, you see it's just one now. Everything becomes one. Yes. So it has melted everything.
Solar panels efficiency continues to increase as many home and business owners choose clean energy. The solar manufacturing industry is expected to grow. And there is hope that solar manufacturing costs will continue to reduce as research and development continue.
That's our show for the week. Thank you for watching our inbox. Earthfile at channelstv.com is available for all your comments and questions. You can also catch up on all our episodes by visiting our YouTube channel, youtube.com/channelsweb. Do click the playlist menu and then click Earthfile. From all of us here in Lagos, it's bye for now.